Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Football, our pregame show here on the Going for Two Live Network for MNF Monday Night Football. Like last week, we actually have good teams, just because I love ripping on the 49ers. They're a good team. They won. They made us all look stupid because none of us picked the 49ers. We'll see if, hey, maybe we're picking the team in green again, as it's the Atlanta Falcons facing the Philadelphia Eagles. How are you doing, Gladys? I'm Kyle Sonder, by the way. Yeah, Gladys is here too. How are you doing, Gladys?
Doing good, Kyle. How are you?
Yeah, doing
Are you
fantastic.
fantastic
Sure.
since your team won?
Hey, your team's 2-0, leading the AFC North. So yeah, Steelers.
Yeah, they are. You go, Justin Fields.
Hey, finally threw a touchdown pass too. Hey, Darnell Washington, first career touchdown too. So
I know. Damn it, Pat Bryant. But I love
I
Darnell
started him
Washington.
in Scott Fishbowl. So yeah, I feel your pain.
Pat Bryant or Darnell Washington?
No, Fire Youth.
Oh, I mean, last year Darnell Washington was a pick because why would you draft like a linebacker size tight end if you're not going to use him?
Well, they did it. They used him as an offensive lineman at times, six blocker. But yeah, Packers got the win against the Colts. That was great from Malik Willis. He threw his first career touchdown pass. It was like his fifth start. He finally got a touchdown pass, and it was a good throw. Like it was. Sorry.
Did he keep
I
the
don't
ball?
know. Yeah, I don't know who kept the ball. I remember Wicks ran at the end zone. I can't remember what he did afterwards. He would have Lambo leaped, I assume. But yeah, I mean, I hope someone kept it for him. But
I know.
the team will. Sarah, yeah, this was the ball. Like how you remember which one. But yeah, it was a good throw too. It was a little risky. Kenny Moore was kind of playing it right, and he undercut it to pick it off. But Willis threw it perfectly on time, good velocity, in the perfect spot where Moore couldn't reach it in time. Wicks gets it, and because Moore's going for the pick, he can't make the tackle. Wicks runs it into the end zone.
Nice.
And I think that I remember counting it was like he threw the ball 6 yards past the line of scrimmage, and it was baby steps because it was only I think his like fifth pass attempt of the game. And up to that point, I think the first three were screens, and he started I think on his fourth attempt started throwing past the line of scrimmage. So Matt LaFleur was really smart in that. I mean, because Bobby Slowick did this with Houston last week. Oh, running's working really well. Let's keep running. I mean, Joe Mixon had 30 rush attempts against the Colts week 1. Josh Jacobs ended up with 32, partially because, teams are leading, but it's also because it's working so well. I think, especially outside running, it was so, stick to what's working. And I mean, like, I think they made a perfect game script and everything just went right for them because the Colts couldn't stop the run. They kind of got better at stopping the run later, but what they were doing is they had to essentially blitz on every play because then they were playing 5 guys on the defensive line every time, and that's how they were stopping the run. But that's one less guy in coverage, and that's when those plays where they started with confidence throwing beyond the line of scrimmage with Willis, and he seemed to do really well. He had 2 incompletions all game, no turnovers, no interception, no fumble. He seemed to do really well. Accuracy, seeing the game, everything that was like the criticisms of Willis coming. Oh, every time we've seen him with the Titans, inaccurate passes, bad field for pocket presence, taking sacks, didn't take a single sack. There were a couple plays that looked like he was going to get sacked. And he avoided the pressure, stood strong, ran out, and was able to make a play. And it was great. Like they again, 14 pass attempts, so they did limit him, but it's also because the run game was working so well. I mean, especially in the first half. I think they had 164 rush yards in the first half, which is more rush yards than they've ever had in any game that Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, or Jordan Love started. Because the last time they had that many rush yards in the first quarter, it was like 1991 or something. So Colts run defense sucks. That's the big takeaway here. That's 2 weeks in a row where they have just been awful against the run. They have no answer except it's extra load the box and leave yourself vulnerable to the pass. I don't know who gets the Colts in week 3 to play that running back. It seems like they're probably going to be a top 5 running back that week.
I'm gonna look that up. Hey, Jamie, I'm working on making my whole body disappear, buddy. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. It's gonna happen.
It's as much of a magic trick as Darth Vader can do behind you.
Well, he's all disappeared, but it's okay. Chicago Bears play the Colts next week.
DeAndre Swift, baby.
Yeah.
He got his touchdown. He finally got a touchdown, and he actually caught a pass in this game, unlike week 1. So
Yeah, and as soon as Caleb Williams gets acclimated to the NFL game, I'm back on it. But that is why I did not pick Caleb Williams with my number 1 pick, Jamie, in our Dynasty League.
to be fair, if I kept the number 1 pick, I probably would have just taken Marv. So I can feel you there, and I would have just left you your choice of quarterback. And I mean, you would have probably still then gone Jaden Daniels. Yeah, the FPC Dynasty League. Honestly, that's sort of why I'm wearing the shirt tonight, because in the FPC Dynasty, I have both Bijan Robinson and Jalen Hurts, who are arguably the 2 best players on their respective teams tonight. So I felt it was the appropriate time to wear this shirt, just because I'm still going to lose, though. Because Dylan started both James Cook and Devon Achane, so I'm
I want to know who started Kamara, because good lord.
Yeah, I had a Kamara in a couple spots this year, so helped me win one
You
of my
started
salary
him?
cap contract leagues. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm thinking of so in the salary cap contract league, it was like a $20 million 1-year contract. I'm going to pay up for him for 1 year and jam him in the lineup every week and hope he gets these 4 touchdown games. In another league, I definitely remember taking him in the 4th round. I think it might have been like the 401 in a 14-team league. So you're still looking like a mid-4th in like a regular 12-team league. So I was willing to take Kamara early in these leagues, and so early to where it's like you put him in the lineup, you don't think about it type starter for me. And this week just proved
that. So like real quick, news and injuries. Bryce Young's been benched for Andy Dalton. Injuries: Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, CMC, Pacheco, Deebo Samuel, Kenneth Walker, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, Raheem Mostert, and Jordan Addison.
Marquise Brown, Jake Ferguson. Like, we can keep going here, folks. Like, welcome back to the NFL season, everyone. This is what it's all about. Man, we love this violent game, but holy man,
so, yeah, Chiefs are bringing in Kareem Hunt for a visit on Tuesday. That's crazy. Bo Nix was asked what happened. Bo Nix was asked what happened in the 4th quarter interception in the end zone, and he said, and I quote, "I threw it to the other team." So
he's learning.
That's what he did. That's what happened.
Well, apparently, let's learn from Jamie, because he won $100 on Khalil Herbert touchdown because Swift sucks. So actually, maybe, well, it's not so much the touchdowns. It was, again, just the flat-out rush yards. So I think Swift will still have a really great week next week. But yeah, maybe he gets vultured by Khalil Herbert. Although, I mean, Josh Jacobs, I guess, he did score the 1 touchdown, but it was he almost had a second one and then he fumbled it. So could have been an even better week. Oh, and I didn't even notice Roshan played last night. Getting punched on the sideline. Okay, so he didn't play last night. Roshan. Sorry, Jamie.
Jamie knows all the bets. Speaking of which, Kyle, I never saw who is your bet. Did I miss that?
So I think so we're gonna start with I guess talking about the game, right? It's so the Eagles. I have it at, so correct me if I'm wrong here, Gladys, but I have the Eagles as 5.5-point favorites at home. Is that correct? Is that
it was 6.5. It went down to 5.5 once AJ Brown was declared out.
So just to start there,
I have, but it's okay.
Yeah, I know. I had to. I picked up Ray McLeod in a couple spots just for that injury, just in case. And it's funny, Ray McLeod, not the only time we're talking about him tonight. But yeah, I guess before we even get to this week, well, maybe we don't want to recap last week, but we all took the Jets as 4.5-point underdogs, 3.5-point underdogs. Yeah, they got smoked by the
3.5, I think.
Definitely was not the right choice. So we all got that wrong. But we're all in agreeing again this week. In green, going with the Eagles as 5.5-point favorites. So we're taking the home favorite this time instead of the road underdog. We'll see, but 5.5 clearly for you, Gladys. AJ Brown's absence isn't enough for you to turn away from 5.5. I mean, it did go down a little bit. I almost was expecting it to go a little lower with Brown out, but I saw it and I still thought I think I'm still willing to take the Eagles on that. So
Yeah, I gotta see what the Falcons. I mean, I have faith in the Falcons. But Eagles are really dominant at home, and I don't know about Kirk Cousins' Achilles yet, so I'm gonna stick with the Eagles at home. I would have taken them at 6.5. I think they're gonna win by at least a touchdown.
I'm hesitant too with Cousins that they can keep up. It looks like because they drafted Penix, he felt he had to rush himself back. I wonder if they don't draft Penix, if he's actually sitting out these first couple weeks, knowing that, okay, let Taylor Heineke or Nathan Rourke, there you go, that would have been it. That would have been Rourke's chance there. Let them start a couple games, then I'll come in because I know I'm the franchise guy. But with Penix, the fear is, man, if he starts week 1 and they look good and he looks good and they're winning, like, I might not even get this job. I've signed this big contract and never played for this team. So I feel like Cousins may have rushed himself back quicker than he should have.
Yeah, but isn't his money guaranteed?
Sure, but I think he wants to be out there winning, right? Like not the full contract guaranteed.
Yeah,
I mean, not
that's
the full
not
4 years, but he got paid. Like he got enough of this money up front. Sorry, Gladys.
Also, we're talking about who we're talking about? Bad run defense, Indy. Too.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they were on that field in Brazil, so maybe that had a little bit to do with it. But Packers ran over them.
They held Josh Jacobs in check. Like the first half was it was really bad for Jacobs, and he eventually got some runs. And yes, Jamie is correct. Nathan Rourke is better than Bryce Young, although apparently not Vernon Adams because Nathan Rourke did get benched on Friday night. So who knows? What's happening there? DC's on bye this week, so I don't have to worry about that. I'll play Trey Ford.
Jamie's always correct.
I mean, most quarterbacks are better.
DC's on bye?
BC is.
Bye weeks are starting?
No, CFL. BC Lions.
Oh.
No. I mean, we were talking about Nathan Rourke. That's why. I think NFL buys start week 4, though. Like, I don't think we're that far away from talking bye weeks. So get ready. You got, I think, 2 more weeks of it, but without it. So I don't know. I also, lack of faith in the Falcons, lack of faith in Kirk Cousins. Dan's going with the Eagles as well. And the over-under, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but last thing I saw was 45.5. Is that the updated line? Say over-under.
45.5 is the over-under.
Yeah, and all of us went lower. So
went under.
Just like last week, we all went lower, and that game actually turned out to be like a 50-point game. So we got it wrong there. It was not a banner week. Perhaps 2 of the 3 co-hosts, because we're including Dan on this, co-host in spirit, may or may not have gone 0-3 last week. So we don't have to dwell on that too much.
Yeah. It sucked. Who knew that Jordan, whatever, was going to be CMC light? I mean, come on now.
Jordan Mason. Jamie.
Yeah.
I still think Bryce Young would be awesome playing in a Pee Wee league with 12-year-olds. Only issue is that he'll still be the shortest player on the field. Jamie. No shortage of great jokes or quotes from Jamie, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, for me, the higher lower is always easy, right? If it starts with a 3, it'll be higher for me. Anything else, I'm taking lower. So 45.5, I'll take.
That's your strategy?
It worked for most of last year. And even there was that, remember the Steelers-Browns game? That was below, but we thought so little of that offense that I took the lower on a 30, I think it was like a 36.5, and they definitely hit the over. So kind of, okay, if it gets that low, then I'll take the higher. But yeah, obviously it didn't go right last week because I took the lower and they definitely went higher. But I'm willing to return to that process. It worked so well last year. I'm going to keep going.
Well, last week one team went higher. They didn't even need the Jets to go higher last week. It was just
what did the 49ers score? I think they got close to the over-under on that one. I don't think they quite hit 42 points. I think it was 37.
They had 32. They had 32.
Oh, 32.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
It
Well,
was
and as long as the Jets got more than 10, we were screwed in that case.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jets. Jamie's also saying Eagles win and with the over. So he's going with the 5.5 favorites, but taking the over 45.5. Interesting, Jamie. Curious to get your thoughts on to why exactly, because again, everyone here. So the consensus unanimous group picks last week went 0 for 2, so not good there. We have 2 more shots this week because all 3 of us are going with the Eagles and we're taking the lower. So if both those hit, then we're at least the unanimous picks will be at 500 for the year.
how did our props do?
Well, Sauce Gardner, it was 3.5 tackles, right?
I don't even remember. I just remember I picked Sauce Gardner. I don't remember how many tackles it was.
When I saw, because I wrote down 3.5, and he had 3 tackles. He missed it by 1 tackle. George Kittle did not score the touchdown for Dan. In fact, yeah, the whole group for our 9 total picks, we went 1 for 8 last week.
So what, yours hit? What was?
Oh, baby, Breeze Lightning.
What was it?
Barely. I had 31.5 receiving yards. He had 38. So
for who?
Brees Hall.
He had 38 receiving yards.
Yeah, just hit it by 7 yards or 6 yards. That's all he needed. He got it. So yeah, just snuck by. So we didn't go completely 0 for 9 because that would be disastrous. Like that never even happened once last year. Like even 1 for 8. Like I'm looking at last year's result. We never had a 1 for 8 week combined. So this was historically bad way to start off Monday Night Football. But I'm actually in the lead at 1 and 2. So hooray for me.
Go.
It'll probably be the only time it'll happen on you.
What's your prop for tonight?
Okay, well, and maybe we'll start there then. So in honor of the FPC Dynasty League with Jalen Hurts and Bijan Robinson, I thought I'm going to take a prop from one of them. And actually a couple lines did look pretty enticing. I was honestly thinking of doing something we did a lot last year, Gladys, quarterback pass attempts. Just finding the quarterbacks we think and get the game script. And one thing that I thought was interesting, Cousins' line for pass attempts, if I saw it correctly, was higher than Hurts. I think it was 33.5 pass attempts for Cousins, 30.5 pass attempts for Hurts. But I looked at the passing yards, and Hurts was higher in passing yards with the fewer attempts. It wasn't by much, but it's enough that like that crisscross kind of happens. You expect like, okay, whoever's got the more attempts, more completions, more yards, but they have Cousins, I guess, being less efficient. What that also made me think is if they have Hurts at fewer pass attempts, is that the edge to go with? So I was thinking about Hurts higher than 30.5 pass attempts. I looked at in his career, he's had 26 games with more than that, but only 21 games with fewer. So more than half the time through his career, he's hit over 30.5 pass attempts. So it was tempting. Then another line really looked to me, and it was basically copying last week. Again, going with the running back receiving yards on a quarterback with a torn ACL, expecting the dump offs. So I looked at Bijan, and he had, I think it was 27 receiving yards in 11 games through his career, and less than that only 7 times. And that includes that one game that he didn't actually play, but he was active. The sick game, remember with Arthur Smith, everyone hated. So if you take that away, it's almost double. So I don't know what you're seeing on Underdog for the lines. I saw 24.5 receiving yards, which seemed crazy low for Bijan Robinson. So if that is in fact true, that's definitely what I'm going with.
I don't know. I didn't look at Bijan, but he had 43 receiving yards last week. So
he's had games with 100 receiving yards in his career. So
yeah, that was with Adam.
Desmond Ridder.
When they were using him as who knows what.
Cousins isn't much better right now, and that's why I think the edge with the dump off passing is there. And that was what I was thinking with Rodgers coming off the torn Achilles. He'll probably rely on Hall as a receiver. So that was the thinking last week. It worked. I feel like it lines up to just go with that same process again. So I'm taking the over on Bijan Robinson receiving yards.
And what is it? 35?
I saw it at 24.5, which almost
24?
seems like which almost seems like to me it seemed like was that a mistake? I double checked. That's what I saw, but I mean maybe I was looking at the wrong thing in terms of like which site.
I will check that.
The Underdog does have it differently from where I saw. Kind of look on a fantasy pros thing that had like the lines for every site, and I Pretty sure I put that in, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, I'm even willing to up that a little higher than 24.5 too, if it is in fact a little higher. But yeah, I mean,
So-
last week with Hall it was 31.5. So I mean, anywhere close to that with Bijan, I'll take that again.
I think, oh my God, I have to do math. So Underdog has him at 102.5 for rushing and receiving, and they have him at 66.5 for rushing. So
That is a little higher. That'd be the 30. That'd be like 36.
That's 36 is what they have.
But I also know that I've seen those at times, and the combined line is usually different than the individual lines are. Like they won't always match perfectly either.
Let me see if
And
they
like,
have it.
because if you go for it combined, it can happen anyway. So they actually usually up it. So if it's something like that, the receiving yard line is actually probably less than 36, just because I've seen that in the past where I've tried to calculate it myself. Like, oh wait, if I combine the rush and receiving yards, it's actually it's different than the line they're giving for the combined rush receiving yards. But I think it's because you can get it in two ways. They want to up that number, so they're usually less individually than they are combined, where they up them a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, I remember seeing that in the past before with that. So.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like I said, I saw it at 24.5. It seemed so low that it's like that's clearly the obvious pick, but maybe that's probably why. Because is it too low?
It's extremely low, but not well. Ooh. So DraftKings has him.
Well, I wonder, did Underdog take it off? Right? Like, did they just remove the line entirely?
Underdog has him at 25 plus at 190 minus 190. So
25. So 25.5 or 24.5?
25.
25 exactly. Okay, I'll stick with it then.
Oh.
On 24.5 receiving yards. If you can find that somewhere, folks, smash that. 25. Like I'm willing to go up into the 30s probably, like even 36. Like even if that was actually what it was, 35.5. I feel like that's worth it to take on, to be honest. So
I think that's a crazy low number.
well, thanks, DraftKings, I guess, for existing.
I know. That's crazy low. But
Yeah, so that's what my line is. I'm going back-to-back weeks with receiving yards for running back. And in fact, this week, I wonder if you're both influenced by that. It seemed like it was all receiving props that all three of us are going with here.
What's up, Charlene? Charlene's part of my group. And what's the one that you didn't play this year?
Oh, the guillotine zombie vampire.
Guillotine zombie, the guillotine one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What?
Hi, Charlene. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed the show.
What was Dan's?
So Dan also went with a Falcon on receiving yards. Yeah. We mentioned his name earlier in the show, but Ray McLeod, I believe, led the team in targets last week, and his receiving yard prop was set at 19.5, and Dan is taking the over.
What is going on with these slow receiving yards? What's the weather in Philly? Do we know? Is it raining or something?
Is it just Kirk Cousins? Is that why? Like, Cousins sucks. We're not. All these guys are going to be low. It does seem like they're too low. So maybe that's the edge. This is that Cousins isn't going to be great, but it'll at least have volume for especially like the dump off guys. Man, I don't know if you saw Dan's show earlier today, which you can check out multiple shows of the B League Shez Pick'em's show throughout the week. He did the Monday night show dropped on Monday. Good planning, guys, at Going for Two. Dan mentioned that one of the best puns I've ever heard anyone say on a fantasy show, that the Falcons are now slotting Ray McLeod in the slot, and that's leading to a lot of these easy targets and receptions. So should easily be able to get over 19.5 receiving yards was his talk. And he was actually one of his 3 featured props he talked about on his show today. I'll encourage people to go check out the other ones. There's an IDP prop in there too for all the IDP fans. But yeah, Dan seemed pretty confident on Ray McLeod, higher than 19.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, because that's insanely low. That's insanely low. And there's zero precipitation, no wind to speak of, 5 miles an hour, and 65 degrees. It's like perfect. It's like perfect conditions. I don't understand what's happening here. I really don't. With all these. Plus, Philadelphia's secondary isn't that great.
Again, is it just so much hate on Cousins that it's dropping all these lines down?
Yeah.
Just like get people to bet on them. I don't know, maybe, but it worked. I mean, fool Dan and I, maybe we'll see if we get them. But you're actually going with an Eagles receiving prop, and if I'm not mistaken, it's receptions, not receiving yards, right?
Yeah, Goddard 4.5 receptions over.
Knowing AJ Brown's out, that line is maybe a pre-injury line too. Like they maybe didn't choose to not raise it significantly, but it feels like in a game where where AJ Brown isn't playing, that seems like it's especially safe to make that pick.
Well, I think the Dotson plane is kind of, people are counting on him.
He had 1 target, 0 catches last week.
Yeah,
I would imagine
he just joined the team too. They just picked him up. He didn't know the playbook.
But to that point, is 1 extra week going to be that much different to the point where like he's
Rumor
going to
is
be
that
involved because he has to be, but he's probably not going to be more involved than Goddard is. So to your point of why you take that, like, seems like Goddard's going to be number 2 on this team in targets, unless they choose to make Barkley that option. But I can see a lot of targets for Devontae Smith and Dallas Goddard. Now the one thing is,
Goddard has always like been behind Smith. Like he was number 3 when AJ Brown was in. But I'm just saying that Dotson they didn't like pick him up for no reason, and they picked him up before the AJ Brown
for
injury. Sure. So I think that he'll have with Brown out and Falcons not good first cut. I think that he'll have a good game. I don't think he'll have an AJ Brown game. I don't think anyone's going to have an AJ Brown game, unfortunately for one of my teams. But whatever. What is his injury?
Was it a hamstring?
Good Lord.
Yeah, he suffered a hamstring, and I think he suffered it in practice on Friday. I think that's because it was so late in the week. He's just not able to recover from it immediately.
Doc on here to find out why these guys are having so many hamstring injuries. Doc, stop playing with your baby. Get on here.
Congrats. Congrats, Doc. So, I'm just thinking. I was going to say something, but anyway, to say like with Dotson, I feel like he's going to be more involved as the season goes on. But in early season games, I think you're really smart to pick Goddard instead of like has got that guy to be that number 2 option, not to necessarily replace Brown's production, but maybe replace Brown's role or usage, just getting more targets. Goddard anytime touchdown is also a good play for Jamie. Apparently, Falcons not good versus the tight end. So Gladys is like, if you can have all 4 catches in the end zone, perfect. 4 touchdowns, it's fine. But 4 receptions, that's all you need.
4.5
or 4.5, 5 catches.
I need 5 receptions.
Oh, and then and then you look at these, right? You correlate these bets, right? Like if he hits 5 catches, he's probably catching at least 10 yards a catch. Like 50 yards is also. So I guess like asking about his receiving yardage, if that's also a good bet to make.
Yeah, I mean, I would go 50 over 50 receiving yards.
But clearly, you're more comfortable with the catches, which is why
I am way more comfortable with receptions. I don't.
That one caught your eye when you went through the list.
Well, they picked up Justin Simmons and Judon, so Simmons Simmons is good. I mean, I don't. He's going to shadow now, or if he's going to play one side, but I think their defense is underrated, the Falcons, and I think that AJ Brown's going to be missed more than. I mean, he's a pivotal part of that offense. And even though they've had time to scheme without him, that he's not going to be there. And Kellen Moore's, good, I'm guessing. I don't know. I just have a feeling it's going to be a huge Saquon day. Like, Saquon's just going to run over.
And that's ultimately why I was just a little bit hesitant on taking that Jalen Hurts pass attempt line, 30.5. Because what if they do run really well and like they don't have to pass? That fear was in my mind. Whereas again, picking the Eagles to win kind of makes sense to go with for Dan and I's perspective, receiving options from the other team, expecting they'll need to throw a lot. So with Goddard though, it might be let's go for the safe catches because we don't need him to stretch the field. When we go to Goddard, it's going to be a safe option, so that's why he could rack up to get those 5 catches for you. And more confidence in that than with the yards.
Yeah. I just don't I mean, I just see a lot of Saquon and a lot of Bijan in this game, like a plodding, slow Monday night game with Jason Kelsey. I cannot wait to hear his commentary against his own team.
Now, the one thing is, it seemed like I had a hard time finding any Bijan lines. Like I saw his rush yards was at 77.5, but it looks like I couldn't find anything receiving wise. And I wonder with the AJ Brown news, they had to revise all their reception stuff. So they took away a lot of the receptions, receiving yards.
15 and a half rushing attempts. That's kind of low too for Bijan.
Yeah.
18 rushing attempts for Saquon. Good Lord. I don't have to switch up.
Yeah, honestly, all of Bijan's lines seemed decent.
Low.
14 and a half rush attempts, like you said, 66 and a half rush yards. You mentioned it, like just 102 combined yards. Like those are all attainable. It just felt like that receiving yards was especially.
I wonder, let's see.
Especially caught my eye.
How they are compared to other sites.
Off your lines, folks. Although you should also sign up for Underdog Fantasy using our promo code GF2. $1,000 deposit match. Bonus deposit match. Jesus, I can speak. Scan the QR code now. Or again, use the promo code GF2 for that match if you're first time sign up for Underdog, and then you can go there and all the other sites compare prices. But sign up and get that $1,000 for free, which you can use to try and win more money.
Passing yards over under. What they have? Yeah, they have Cousins at 227 and a half, and Hurts at 225 and a half for passing yards. Let's see what the pass attempts.
Like I said, I saw Hurts at 30 and a half and Cousins at, I think it was like 33 and a half.
Yep, it's the same.
Which again was strange that, with that, the fact that Hurts has higher passing yards than Cousins is they're saying, man, Cousins is going to pass more, but he's going to be so inefficient that he's actually going to get less yards. But B, also, like, is there something wonky there, which is why I was kind of singling at first on the Hurts passing.
Well, I mean, but statistically, he would be passing more because they'd be behind. And if he's dumping off the passes.
I can understand why they got there. Like, Hurts will just be more efficient, so even on fewer completions, you can get more yards than Cousins. I think that's fair. Okay, so Charlene talking about one site has Jahan Dotson at 2.5 receptions, Ray McLeod at 3 catches, and Dallas Goedert at 41.5 receiving yards. She couldn't find the receiving option.
I would take that as a parlay.
Yeah, 3-way parlay, that's good. Just as we've been talking, like with Jamie mentioning, like if we think 5 catches for Goddard, we think he can hit 42 yards on 5 catches, I think, pretty easily. That, like, of those 3, that's the one I was kind of looking at. Like, when we're talking 50 yards for Goddard, that's a little different, but we're talking him only having to reach 42 receiving yards. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's in 2.5 receptions.
Yeah, I think all 3 are good. Just saying, like, of those 3, the Goddard one really stands out to me.
Yeah, I would take that, Charlene. Yeah. Oh, I wonder what site that is, because I would take that.
Yeah, with the no receiving option too. Hey, look, I forgot to put the graphic up. There's the game info, folks.
Rushing props. I just don't understand Bijan's so low. Why is so low? Unless maybe because it's like the second week and they just want people to start, people to start betting.
If you win a couple, then you'll go through the season where you'll chase those early season victories.
Yeah.
So the opposite of what we did last week is what you're saying.
Yeah. So
hopefully we're back in the winning books here in week 2.
The game lines, the game lines are, I think, pretty steady. I think that's coming down a half. Kicker 1.5 field. Did Giants play without a kicker yesterday?
So, it's not like they started the game without a kicker, but he literally got injured on the opening kickoff. So it was effectively the whole game without the kicker, because apparently the punter is not good at kicking field goals.
Jesus. Okay.
He missed a point after, and they just decided we're not even going to attempt a field goal then.
Try it again.
Like he didn't. It didn't look like it. Like, I didn't actually watch, but I heard someone describing it like they said he shanked it. So, like, it was so far off that it's like, we have no confidence this guy attempting a field goal. It's not like Houston with Dare Agumbawale needing to kick. Oh yeah, we'll let him take the shots at it. This is like, man, our punter's so bad we're not even going to try.
That's
And like
awesome.
some like apparently they passed up on like I guess if it was at a PAT level, like a 30-yard field goal when they were down by I think only 2. They passed it up to go
Yeah.
for it on 4th down. They didn't get it. So like, yeah, either kicker at 1.5 field goals.
Who's it? Oh, Young Hoku. Young Hoku.
Hoku and Jake Elliott.
Okay,
I mean,
well, the first thing is Atlanta going to get in position to try a field goal. Like, who has a good leg, but you're outside and he's used to kicking inside.
if they're both going to be 1.5, does this make sense that you like almost always want to go with the kicker who's favored? Because A, we're expecting that team to score more points, and B, like the game script of, okay, if this team's trailing, there might be some field goal attempts they pass up to go for it on 4th down. So, like, if I think I'd take Jake Elliott at 1.5 field goals. I'm not convinced about Younghoe Koo. So if you had to, I mean, if you want to take both, I suppose that could make sense. But if you were picking between one or the other, Charlene, I think I almost always want to just go with whatever kicker's on the team that's favored. So with we're already all taking the Eagles anyway, feels like enough of those points will come on 2 field goals. I think is definitely attainable because Jake Elliott's got a good leg too, so he can his range of when they go for it with him could be a little higher than some other kickers. So yeah, I like that with Jake Elliott.
Trying to see.
Danny Dimes fire emoji, Jamie. I know like there's no context behind that other than we were talking about the Giants earlier, but yeah, Danny Jones,
So
Danny Dimes, 4th and 4, not.
Charlene, last week, Elliott had 2 field goals on that really bad field that they played on.
Okay, can I rant about that?
Young Hoku had 1 field goal on
indoors
against the Steelers. So
yeah.
I don't know if I would go. I don't know if the field or the game. What are you ranting on?
Well, first I was going to ask, like, Steelers defense compared to Eagles defense. Like, does that give hope? Like, okay, they can maybe get more done against the Eagles defense.
I would almost say yes, but they're playing inside, so I think it kind of balances it out. They were playing
because this game is an outdoor game.
An outdoor game. Yeah.
So yeah, not as much confidence in Younghoe. And it's not even his fault because we just have so little confidence in the Kirk Cousins-led offense right
now. Okay, what are you ranting about?
Everyone talks about this field being so slippery, and yeah, clearly there were some receivers like there's Watson, a perfect pass from Love in the end zone, which should have been a touchdown, and Watson fell on the route. Yeah, it happened. But I watched a lot of football week 1 of the NFL season. And it didn't matter which country gridiron football was being played in. I saw a ton of players slipping all over the place. Yes, it happened in Sao Paulo, but I swear, every CFL game I watched last week, there was receivers slipping like in every game. Guess what? The Colts game, we talk about that big throw that Richardson made. He slipped on that big catch to Pierce. So he was following him. Like I saw other games played in North America, in the United States, in these like billion-dollar stadiums, and players were slipping. So to me, it wasn't just a Sao Paulo thing. Like that field was so much worse than anything else we've seen. And like, oh, no one's gonna ever fall on any other field because it clearly happened a ton, no matter which field football was being played on. So I think people are overstating how much like the field was bad and everyone was slipping. And because I've also heard people talk about like that's why Jordan Love got hurt. And that's like, I don't know, man. It didn't look like it to me. It definitely looked like the reason his knee is messed up is because you had a dude yank down on his leg and pull him to the ground from his leg. It seems like to me the way Jalen Carter just yanked him to the ground like that, like grabbing him like around the ankle and then like pulling down his leg like he did. Like the field had nothing to do with the injury. It was all just Jalen Carter, the way he was tackling. And someone say, oh, well, Jalen Carter slipped and that's why he was tackling at the leg. The slipping's one thing, but he actively chose, I'm going to grab this guy two-handed from his leg and yank him to the ground and mess up his knee. So like everyone's saying like the field's why Love got hurt. And I see it as no, it's clearly entirely on Jalen Carter. So I mean, can't necessarily blame Carter. That's what he's doing. He's take down the quarterback by any means necessary. But like to say it's the field that causes injury, I think that's bogus. I think this was clearly just what Jalen Carter did to him. I don't know if you saw it any differently.
I honestly did not watch the game. I had no interest.
Plus, it was super late. It was like the second last play of the game, so it's happened so late.
the first 3 weeks to me are kind of like crapshoots. Like you're making assumptions based on last year's stats, which may or may not follow a trend. Two, on players that have just come into the league or are on different teams and new coordinators and new head coaches. So you have no idea how they're going to deal with the players. And I think it and a short preseason that they've started that when they started that shit. So to me, uh, is Caleb Williams not playing well? No, he's not playing well. But there are a lot of players that aren't playing well. And did Aaron Rodgers play well? No. They're playing the preseason like the first 3 games of the season, like when they used to have the longer preseasons and they could get everyone.
Well, even
together.
the Patriots used to do that, right? Like they were notorious slow starters, and they'd be, they're sitting at 2-2, and then they go on and win the Super Bowl anyway. So
Yeah.
they're using that first month to try things, adjust things. Okay, once we figure it out, now we're in the rhythm of now we have to win every game.
And I think that's why people are like, oh my God, I never saw Bryce Young being benched in like the first 2 games with the new David Canals. I mean, you got to win. If you go 3, you're not making any kind of playoffs run whatsoever in that weak division, even in that weak division. But again, you had a new head coach, you have a new offensive coordinator, you have new wide receivers. Offensive line objectively sucks. They gotta get used to it. They use the first 3 or 4 games as their preseason, and the fact that, oh my God, Derek Carr is playing out of his mind is like that play action that they're using now. The last 4 games when he balled out, that's the same plays that they used then. So he is in a system that they started last season. Like,
well, it's funny, they also brought in a new offensive coordinator. So I wonder, was that a team that maybe did play more in the preseason because with the totally new offense being installed, they felt like they had to get more reps, and suddenly they're the team that's like most prepared right now?
Well, the last 4 games, I think that they picked the offensive coordinator according to the plays that they saw work.
Yeah, he's okay. These are the things that worked. This is a guy who tailors his offense around this. So that's why we're hiring him to match, matching an offense coordinator with the quarterback we already have. That's a good point, Gladys.
And I think I watched some of the games, but I mean, I listen to the recaps more because I just don't know that you can depend on the first 3 weeks to go, oh, this guy objectively sucks, or this guy is objectively really good. Although, how do you explain Zimmer's defense? Like, balled out the first week and then just absolutely got destroyed last week.
Derek Carr greater than Deshaun Watson? Is that what we're going with now?
I
mean, until further notice, I think it is. To be honest, we joke about that, but right now, I think if I had to tell me I get one of these guys on my team, I'd have much more faith in Derek Carr.
Greater than Patrick Mahomes. He's greater than Lamar Jackson.
To be fair, Patrick Mahomes is also 2-0, so I don't know if there's necessarily too much going on. But it's funny, Xavier Worthy slipped on a play yesterday too. So again, the slipping isn't just in Sao Paulo, folks. We've had this comment up long enough. I think we don't need to have Daniel Jones' name up there that long, but Jamie saying Daniel Jones would be a top 15 quarterback because half his games he'd be in the top 10 and it'd be enough to carry him. The other 3 he'd be QB 30.
He does have a rushing upside. He does have that rushing upside.
You said the word upside though, because he doesn't really have the rushing upside though. He has the rushing floor. Like he can run for a lot of yards. Like he's pretty fast. The problem with Daniel Jones, why he's actually one of the lowest upside quarterbacks, he just doesn't produce touchdowns, whether it's passing touchdowns or rushing touchdowns.
And his propensity to give the ball to the other team, like he's not the most safest.
For fantasy, like if you're Jameis Winston and you're going to do it 30 times, you better throw 30 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel Jones has had 1 season in his career of more than 20 total touchdowns, rushing and passing combined. His rookie season, he had 24 passing touchdowns. Since then, again, passing and rushing combined, he has not hit 20. Even that 2 years ago, when he was I think he was a top 12 quarterback, he had 7 rushing touchdowns. And I think it might have only been like 12 or 13 passing. I guess that with 13 that would have hit 20, but like with a 7 rushing touchdown season, you expect these quarterbacks can be like, oh, you're going to finish top 3 quarterback on the season if you do that. But you also need like 20, 30 passing touchdowns, not 12. So yeah.
Well, okay. Jaden Daniels' first week was what? Quarterback 3?
Yeah, and then he showed he was back down to like 13 fantasy points without a touchdown. So
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Kirk Cousins kind of night, 300 plus. Hopefully.
Yeah, I was wondering what this meant. Yeah, for Mickey. So plus 300. Are they like saying like that?
300 plus yards passing.
Oh, 300 yards pass. I was wondering if it was. So I thought it was like a bet, like something is plus 300, like the money line plus 300. So I'm just gonna. It's gonna Kirk Cousins night. So I'll take the Falcons at money line, like straight up to win, not against the spread. Like plus 300.
300 passing yards.
Yeah, that actually makes way more sense, Gladys. Thank you. Glad you're here to decipher all this. Very smart. JV, he just put a $10 bet that neither team will reach 30 points. It's minus 140. I mean,
that would be. I thought Jimmy went for the over too, didn't he? Isn't that contradictory to what he's picking?
Well, that's JV. He'll make multiple bets, and if one of them hits, it's at long enough odds, like that. At minus 140. That means what? He'll win. I don't even know. I forget how that works actually. But like I suppose, yeah, maybe not. I guess this one's a minus one, so maybe it's not. But like with the other one, if the odds are high enough, if it hits, you pay off both bets. So like as long as you pick from both sides, and one of them winning will pay off both bets. Essentially.
Yep.
Kind of it's sort of a hedge, right? Like you're not maximizing the full potential, but you're going to always be positive in that sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard Jamie talk about that in the past, right? If you're going to make enough bets, some of them will contradict each other. And so like either way it goes, you'll at least get one of them right. And if it hits for enough, then it pays off the whole week.
20-26 wins. So he's saying that the Eagles are going to win 26-20, and then he would win both bets.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Because neither team scored 30, but the over still hits. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Some clever math there, JB. Find the right zone. The Goldilocks.
Really close to the line. Really close. That's awesome, Jamie. Jamie's he's a baller. He wins. He comes out ahead. So you go.
When do the Browns play on Monday night? There's a couple. They're late in the season, but week 13 they play the Broncos. So we may have to invite Jamie on.
I don't even know. Do you think they'll leave that game on a Monday night? That would be the most putrid Monday night game.
Can they flex out of Monday night games?
I think so. Can't they?
You see, I remember I thought it happened one time, and it was it's the only time it's happened. It's not something they really want to do. It's something that was so bad, and maybe this is one of those games that's just so bad it's like an emergency. But it seems like it's a lot because a lot of the flexing happens with Sunday night football. NBC says, okay, we just move the time change, right? So because part of it is, and I think if it does happen, it has to be announced several weeks in advance because the team's schedule for that week will change. If you're playing Monday instead of Sunday like that, then the next week of practice it affects a lot. So it can't just be the game's bad. There's got to also be other circumstances. You got to make sure neither of those teams playing Thursday night because then you wouldn't be able, or whatever game you wanted to flex in. Those guys weren't playing Thursday, or there's got to be. There are some safeguards where you ESPN can't just do it willy nilly whenever they want. It's got to be a lot of things line up, and then there's a possibility it could happen if they don't like the game. But then sometimes those possibilities open up, and it's two teams they want, so then they don't want to move it, right? So I don't know. I'd have to see what the rest of the schedule is, but it seems like it's a lot harder to flex Monday night games than it is Sunday night games.
I think that Jamie says the Broncos are so bad that he bet Browns to win in the under. Dude, I'm hoping by then Jameis Winston is playing because.
That's true. Oh, Jamie's up $170 total this week, so good for Jamie. I mean, Deshaun Watson's up $65 million
dollars, gazillion dollars. Good for him.
And Jamie's probably worked way harder for that 170. So, but yeah, the Broncos do seem pretty bad.
Which I don't know. I don't hate the Broncos living here in Denver. I don't hate them. I just don't like Sean Payton. So it makes my heart happy that Sean Payton is failing miserably at this. Oh, let me get a quarterback that fits my system instead of trying to find a system that the quarterback that I have can adjust to. The fuck. That's such a high sense of self for a coach to have. I think for anyone to have that.
Rex Ryan was like that too. Like supposedly, like Rex Ryan, players coach to the max,
Uh-huh.
but unflexible. Like this is the system. You have to play this system, and like so, like it led to some struggles. Like when he went to the Bills at first, he had to kind of change. They had to like the first year was really bad because they didn't have the right personnel to run his defense, but he still stubbornly ran it anyway. And then eventually moved to like got the players that fit the system eventually. But yeah, like
How would you do that though? You know what I mean?
and it's funny because like I don't know that Sean Payton is perceived as like a player's coach. That like the players, we love this guy. I think everyone
I think he's a
admits.
player's coach if your name is Drew Brees, but other than that, nope.
Well, yeah, because I think everyone respects him. Okay, this is a very intelligent man. Like clearly, his system, there's a lot thought out. The play calling, like, and an in-game choosing of plays, players have confidence for Sean Payton. But it doesn't seem like I'll run through a brick wall for that guy. Like Rex Ryan seemed to have that perception with players. Like, but he still had the inflexible system that it had to be his way. So even like because you'd anticipate like that type of no, my way or the highway. It goes with the sort of curmudgeon coaches that the players don't necessarily get along with the most, like a Sean Payton. We see him yell at his players. But yet it's not like sometimes the player friendly coaches are also inflexible in their systems too. So yeah, coaches just have this obsession with, I've got the perfect system designed this way, but it doesn't work for every player. Like you have to fit this. So
is Canales supposed to be a player's coach or just like a quarterback whisperer?
I mean, you probably need more than a quarterback whisperer. Like you need a legit a quarterback shouter to help Bryce Young get to where he wants to be. It seems like you could. Like, would Bryce Young work with a Sean Payton offense? Like, it could be so bad that no one could fix him. So that could be the problem. That could be why they're already 2 games in. Canales is already deciding to let's just go with Andy Dalton.
But is this his first head coaching job?
Yep.
Okay.
I think, and last year was his first year as an offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a quarterback's coach up to that point, and then last year or 2 years ago, the Bucs hired him to be the OC. And then, I think it was just last year.
Wait, I thought he was OC in Seattle. When Gino had
maybe he was OC. I'll look that up. I had that somewhere. I've got a document with all the coaching changes. And I wrote through all the history. So I'll look that up. You might be right, but I knew he was in Seattle. But for some reason I was thinking he was a quarterback's coach in Seattle, and he helped Gino from that perspective, but not necessarily as the play caller.
Okay,
I might be wrong. Let me look through. I'll have to find it. So if there's anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think that. How long do you think before? Is Sean Payton's ego so big that he will not take Bo Nix out? He'll stick with Bo Nix because that's his guy.
I mean, he's also got Zach Wilson. So, like, what are you really benching him for? Like,
doesn't he have? What's the other?
Jared Stidham.
Stidham's there. Yeah, his choice, his pick.
I don't know. I could see it. I mean, I wonder if Bo Nix is that bad to where you're already just going to replace him next year. Maybe you stick with him. You keep having him suck for you to get that number 1 overall pick, and ultimately replace him. Like that could maybe be part of it. I wonder. So Dave Canales. What's PG? I did a lot of abbreviations in this article. So yeah, he was his first year as offensive coordinator. Was in 2023. So last year with the Bucs, his first year as offense coordinator. He was with Seattle from 2010 to 2022. So he might have worked with Russ. I mean, he was a wide receivers coach for a few years, then a quarterbacks coach. So I think he actually ended up working with both Russ and Gino. His last year, though, he was also the passing game coordinator. Now, I still don't know if that meant he was calling plays, though. So I do think last year was Canales' first year actually being a play caller. And then you're going from 1 year of that to 1 year already as a head coach. It feels like he may have just got this a little too early. Like he needed a couple more years as a play caller before adding head coach on top of that. I don't know. But I also think he's been straddled with a quarterback that clearly needs a lot of work. Again, like quarterback whisper all you want, but ultimately, like, why do you think they're benching Young? Do you think like they're already ready to move on from him and they're thinking of a new quarterback next year, or is this part of his development? Like right now, what's best for him is actually to sit because throwing him out there and having him make mistakes over and over again, he's not improving from that. So let's try this. Let's see what happens. A few games on the sideline, you can absorb all this information without literally the pressure of the pass rush coming to you. Does that help Bryce Young in the long term? Is it like are they still committed to him long term? They just want to give him a couple games off to help learn and like develop him off the field instead of on the field.
I think it's probably more about new coach panic. I don't want to go 0-3. I can't go 0-3, and Bryce Young is not going to get me a win. So I don't know if he has confidence in him. I don't know if he's doing it for Bryce Young's good. I just have a feeling that it's this is my first head coaching job, and I'm not going to go 0-3.
Because it might be his only head coaching job
exactly.
if they're so bad. I wonder if it serves both though, right? Like if this might actually be what's best for Bryce Young, but clearly it seems like Andy Dalton right now is going to be better for the team. They'll be more likely to win games with Dalton, so it might serve both purposes. Like this is better for us in the now, but this is also better for the long term future of Bryce Young. Is to just you've had a full rookie season of the time on the field. You've seen that. He didn't really get better through that, except the Packers game last year where he dominated, and they still lost, which is hilarious.
Right.
They probably shouldn't have lost. They literally ran out like they were a second away from spiking it. Like they got into field goal range without timeouts, but they couldn't spike it fast enough. Like they literally just ran out of a second. So they were like maybe literally a second away from beating the Packers last year. So that wasn't great.
I mean, I think I look at Trevor Lawrence.
Other than that, he's been awful in every other game. Like that was his career high in passing yards and everything. Other than that, Young has been awful.
I mean, yeah, he's literally historically bad. But is his offensive line helping him? And last year, did he have the weapons to help him? I mean,
I thought getting Deontay would actually be a good solution to that.
I did too.
So far, it's been awful, though. I mean, I don't know if that's Deontay's fault. Is Bryce Young that bad that even Deontay can't help him? I mean, so you got unfortunately way too much of Kenny Pickett to look at the last couple of years. Just because I know you're about to compare him to Trevor Lawrence. I almost think it's worse. This almost seems as bad as Pickett, doesn't it?
Who? What?
Bryce Young. Bryce Young. Because Lawrence was really bad as a rookie, but he also had literally the worst head coach in NFL history as his head coach. Yeah, and he hasn't he's been bad in some games. They're 0-2 this year, but he hasn't looked as bad as he did as a rookie. So he did take some steps in progression. I don't. He's still pretty bad, but I think that Lawrence is a step above what Bryce Young's been. But I think Bryce Young is more comparable to Kenny Pickett than he is to Trevor Lawrence right now. That's
yeah.
Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Kenny Pickett was an overreach. I think Kenny Pickett was a way overreach. I don't know why they.
We just saw with Malik Willis. Maybe he should have been the pick.
Yeah,
if Malik Willis went to Pittsburgh, would he have developed better than he did in Tennessee?
Well, yeah, because when he was in Tennessee, he was with. Oh, I don't know, because at that time,
but it was Arthur Smith as offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
so it would have
been more of a run game. It would have been our OC at that time wouldn't have. I think in a lot of it, I think people aren't. Yeah, Bryce Young is bad. Yeah, and I think that he looks worse because C.J. Stroud is so good. You know what I mean? Like C.J. Stroud is so good, and the whole thing.
I guess with Lawrence's year, all of them sucked.
Yeah,
none of them have developed as well as we thought they would.
They were going to.
So he still looks like the best. Okay, he was. I mean, because he was. Purdy was the next year with Pickett. So we still look at that 2021 class and say, okay, up to this point, Lawrence has actually been the best quarterback. So whereas we definitely can't say that with Bryce.
Yeah, and Levis, he's the. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Now, you might take Will Levis over Bryce Young. It's that bad.
I don't know. Levis makes stupid mistakes.
It's pretty awful. It's to me, it's like that Kenny Pickett range, not the Trevor Lawrence range.
Right. He's kind of Levis is who's Jay Cutler without common sense. Although I don't know that Jay Cutler had that much common sense. But he
I mean, I
has
guess
so
the
much
arm talent is
confidence
there.
in his arm talent that he thinks that he can get away with things that he clearly is not being able to get away with because he's not playing at UFK. He's playing at the NFL.
You
And
see,
he doesn't
Cutler
think
kind of
that-
did the stuff like that too, though. Like so much natural talent, and he would make these like dumb mistakes because he didn't care much. I almost think it's just a worse version of Jay Cutler. Almost he's like he's just a not as good version of Jay Cutler.
that could be true too. I mean, I don't know. I was never.
Jay Cutler, if Jay Cutler liked mayonnaise on his bananas or whatever it is.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't. It's a
Yeah,
team sport. It's a
spreading
team
it.
sport. If you're not,
Yeah.
how can you blame one person on a team sport?
Well,
Like
it's funny. Malik
Caleb
Willis,
Williams isn't playing good, and no one's like, well, they are, but it's not as bad because they won. But it's their defense that's winning. Like he's not.
well,
playing
they
that
beat
well.
again. They beat Will Levis.
Yeah. Well, Will Levis is beating himself.
Well, that's the
actually.
thing. I think the defense got 2 pick sixes on Levis in that week 1 win. So
Yeah.
Caleb still hasn't thrown a touchdown pass.
No.
But Malik Willis actually talked about that. One of the biggest flaws he had with Tennessee was he felt he had to do it all on his own. He didn't trust his teammates enough.
Oh,
And
really? He said that?
like he says he felt much more prepared. And this was before the game. He said he feels much more prepared going into this week 2 game when I'm starting for the Packers than I did with the Titans. Even though, like, by the time he started his first game with the Titans, it was like midway through the season. So he had been there all through training camp, and then Tannehill got hurt, and suddenly he's like thrust into action like week 7 or something. So he had like all the training camp to learn a playbook, and like 7 weeks to sit on the bench and watch, and he still doesn't feel as ready as he did now. Just joining a team and 3 weeks later absorbing the playbook quickly because his mentality has changed, and that I don't have to play hero ball. I have to just do what the play is telling me. Like trust my eyes, trust the research I've done. Like in terms of game preparation, just make the throws, even if it's the underneath throw, the safe throw. If that's what's open, do that and trust your teammates. And it seems like he approached it with a lot different mentality. He says he feels a lot more ready to start and play NFL games now than he did.
Well, that's coaching, right?
Matt LaFleur, man, like you said it earlier, one of the best play callers in the league, but does he also develop a good culture where players can develop and learn? And it's not just the smart XOs guys. Sometimes like you have some genius guys that are just so smart at their sport, but don't know how to actually develop the players. Like if the player gets it, it's great because now you've given them the tools to really excel. But if the player needs help getting there, these genius coaches don't know how to make it happen.
Right.
And I don't know if this is a Sean Payton quote, but is that maybe part of Sean Payton too, where he might not be the best at developing players, but if the players come in, they're ready to learn his system, they can execute it perfectly because he gives them the tools to execute it. But he's not, you've got to learn it, get to that point on your own so far to where you can understand. Like if you're a beginner player trying to learn a Sean Payton offense, there's so much you don't know that it's tough to grasp it. But if you've done enough and you've got enough work to get there, he can take you to the next level.
And I think you're not a great coach because isn't that part of coaching is developing a player?
There we go. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, is there a bit of that in Belichick, to be honest? Right. Like Brady, they developed Brady, and Brady talks about like he felt he improved in his first couple of years with New England, but he talks about he was at Michigan for 5 years. Like he learned some things
Right.
at Michigan in those 5 years that some of these college players aren't learning until 2 or 3 years into their NFL career. So he was like the Patriots helped develop him, but he was already coming in at a high enough football IQ standpoint, and everyone just overlooked him because of the athletics. And he ran a 5.1 or something.
Wasn't the most athletic looking one. All right, you want to recap our picks?
Yeah, great.
Take it out.
Yeah, it's been long enough. Yeah, we definitely need to go with that. So, like last week, all 3 of us, we have 2 unanimous picks this week. So all 3 of us went with the Eagles as 5.5 point favorites. Sorry, I want to pull. And we also went with the lower on the combined score of 45.5. So those are the picks, folks. Eagles 5.5, Eagles 5.5, yeah, and then lower game total than 45.5. So we'll see if we can redeem the 0-2 consent unanimous picks last week and go at least 2-2. All 3 of us had different player props. Gladys went with Dallas Goedert higher than 4.5 receptions. All of the props tonight are receiving props, by the way. I went with Bijan Robinson higher than 25.5 receiving yards, And Dan went with Ray McLeod higher than 19 and a half receiving yards. So Dan and I sticking in the same vein, these Atlanta Falcons players on receiving yards, which is Gladys noted, they seem really low, but they probably that low because of Kirk Cousins. And there's just no faith from any of the odds makers or line setters in Kirk Cousins. So we'll benefit by getting these slot receiver, running back, dump off targets that they'll yak their way to these yards. That's the hope, essentially.
All right.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Kick off in 10 minutes. So anything you want to talk about for these last 10 minutes, Gladys?
No, I have to go feed my dogs.
Okay. I'm honestly, I got to feed myself because I'm really hungry. So let's.
What are you having? What's your game day meal tonight?
It's funny because Victoria said she was going to be making food, and I can kind of hear her in the kitchen now. So honestly, hopefully, like by the time I'm ready to eat, it's like super fresh and good to go. So whatever she's making, because it's always delicious. Victoria's good.
But you don't have a game day meal?
Oh, I mean, like, well, we talked about this on press coverage. Actually, Jamie would have been there to ask these questions. I said my number one game day food is pizza.
Pizza?
Because it's especially good if you're gonna have, like, I mean, I'll eat a pizza on my own, but it's a great food if you're gonna have people over for the game, right? Like, you just get a couple pizzas and like that's enough sustenance for everyone, kind of thing.
That's valid. Okay.
But yeah,
I'll accept that answer.
Oh, thank you. I like pizza. You may not like all the toppings I put on pizza, but at least you'll accept that.
Probably not. I almost guarantee I wouldn't.
Black olives, baby.
Oh, I love black olives.
Yeah, me too. I love putting that on pizza. It's like
I thought you were gonna go like high meat content.
Oh well, yeah, I know that's the other thing. I'll usually go black olives as the one vegetable to oppose the other meat. So
to balance out.
Yeah, so yeah, actually, yeah, the black olives would be the part you'd like. I should have known that. Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think I did. That's why I led with that. So you at least, yeah.
Okay. All right then.
What are the dogs going to be eating? What's their game day meal?
They have boiled chicken and wellness lamb. They eat lamb. They're not vegetarians or vegans. The one dog will eat cucumbers and whatever I'm chopping up. The other dog refuses to eat anything that doesn't have a meat smell to it. So chicken with lamb is what they're having tonight.
Yummy.
Yeah, whatever. Hurts my soul.
Well, and I'm sure you'll enjoy your meal too tonight. Whenever after you're slaving away feeding the dogs, you'll get your chance to eat. But I'm sure they're not super demanding at all of your time.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's a baseball game going on, so they can't go outside right now. But you know, whatever. Rockies are playing some. When is baseball season over? It's got to be soon.
Well, don't the playoffs start in October? So
yeah, because
they're probably 2 weeks away.
Holy fuck! Rockies are so bad. They are so bad, and yet they get so many people going to the game. Like I don't understand it.
I feel like I've heard like that's one of the better stadiums. So like
it is a really nice stadium.
The stadium experience there might be like worth it in a sense. Are they White Sox bad though? Because I remember looking through the standings and I thought I saw like the White Sox have like this ridiculously bad record.
Really? Worse than the Rockies?
I think so. So the Rockies are 57 and 93.
Yeah.
So what's that? 38% winning. Yeah, that's pretty bad. The White Sox are 35 and 115. Their winning percentage is 23%.
Wow.
So yeah, so the Rockies aren't the worst team in the league.
That's pretty sad.
They're the third worst, actually.
Well, I mean, but
yeah. The Chicago White Sox are just awful.
They're playing the Cubs, who actually have a chance at making the playoffs, but they lost to the Rockies. I don't even understand that.
The Blue Jays still aren't eliminated yet. That's interesting.
Yay! Go Toronto.
I mean, I know they made the playoffs last couple of years. It looks like they're on the outside. I mean, they're 7.5 games back of the wild card spot. So, like, it's not just that they're 7.5 games back. They've got to leapfrog like 5 different teams to get there. So,
yeah, but didn't they try something new where like an extra team gets in this year?
Well, but then that's the thing. They're 7.5 games back from that third wild card spot.
Oh.
So yeah, it's
not
looking great for the Blue Jays.
Wait, where are the Pirates?
Oh, they're even worse. I noticed them as actually maybe not. Oh yeah, they're still not. No, they're still in it, but they're in the other league. They're 10 games back of a wild card spot.
From that third spot.
Yeah.
And there's like what,
Um,
11 games left or something really weird.
Yeah, like they're on the verge of getting eliminated. It looks like they're in fact they're I think it looks like they're the lowest ranked team. Oh, the Texas Rangers. Those are the two, like Texas Rangers and the Pittsburgh Pirates are the two lowest ranked teams that haven't been eliminated yet. So, like, especially for Pittsburgh, you're looking at teams that are, 13 games back that are eliminated, and they're 10 games back. So that means like they're within, two or three losses of being eliminated. So
Okay.
not looking great.
That-
Okay, 4 minutes for the game. So Jamie just parlayed Bijan over 25 receiving yards. Hey, look at that. Someone else is going for it. Must be good. Eagles spread and Goddard over 4.5 receptions. So he's actually using our props and then the Eagles line. So this is the 2-point conversion crew special pick here.
So do we get like a piece of that? $10 wins 60. I would like $10.
His investment, right? Like you just put it back in. Yeah, we'll figure it out, Jamie. Don't worry. DM Gladys. Just give it all to Gladys. She can have my share too. It's her reward for winning the contest last year.
Okay, I'll take it.
We'll have to send Doc something for winning in 2022. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna win this year. I mean, I'm in the lead with my 1-2 record ahead of you.
After 1 week.
0-3 guys. This is my highlight of the year. This is the only time I'm probably going to be in front. So I'm going to brag about it.
I think you should. I think I think you should.
Well, maybe I got all 3 right this week. Who knows?
Oh,
Have
yeah.
I ever actually done that? Oh yeah, I did it twice. I did it 3 times last year, actually.
All right.
Good luck with that. Hey, Jamie will like this. I did it one of the times I did it last year was with a Roshan Johnson receiving prop. That one's just for you, Jamie. Do we have the Bears this year? Can we pick a Roshan? Oh yeah, we definitely. We get week 15. If we go that late, we get a doubleheader: Bears, Vikings, Falcons, Raiders.
Falcons who?
Falcons, Raiders. Vegas.
Oh, okay. Not mad
that might be interesting. So yeah, maybe by that point, Roshan Johnson will actually be on the field. We can take his props. But yeah, next week's going to actually be interesting, Gladys. I guess I may as well ask you about this while we're still on the show recording, so everyone will find out too. Double header. So there's 2 games next week, and yeah.
What are you doing?
One of them, the first game I believe is starting at 7:30 Eastern, so 5:30 Mountain. So in theory, we could start at a regular time of 5 Mountain, do the first game for the first half hour, and then the second half hour after that game kicks off, we do the second game. So it can work with keeping the same time if you want, but if you want to push back a half hour to give us a full hour before the first game, I'm also fine doing that. So it's really up to you, whatever you want.
The first game is Jags and Buffalo.
Yeah.
And the second game is Washington and Cincinnati. Yikes.
Yeah, 7:30 Eastern, so 5:30 Eastern for the first game to start. So, do you want to start at 5 or do you want to start at 4:30?
Wait, it's 5:30 my time the game starts. The first game starts.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, so if we started at our regular time, we'd still have a half hour before the first game. So we could stick to our normal time, do the first game, the Jags Bills game in the first half hour, and then the second half hour is reserved for the Bengals Commanders. Or we could push it, like we could move it forward a half hour, start at 4:30 Mountain, do a full and just do everything before the first game.
Saying.
So I'm okay with either. It's whatever you want to do, essentially.
I hate making decisions.
Now, we don't also have to decide right now because we are a minute away from kickoff. I guess that's kind of laying a bit of drama for next week. Are we starting at 6:30 Eastern or 7? Not sure, but we'll be here every Monday night on the version here on the Going for Two Live Network. So check out all the great shows. I think Jamie already referenced the Fantasy Cheat Sheet, a show he co-hosts on Tuesday night. So look for that tomorrow night. The doubleheader Tuesdays with Speak on It at 5:30 Mountain, 7:30 Eastern, and then the Cheat Sheet at 7:30 Mountain, 9:30 Eastern. That wasn't confusing for people.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. Charlene, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
Good luck on your parlay.
Yeah. Best of luck, Charlene, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm not going to wish Jamie
Mickey.
luck. Not wishing Jamie luck.
Dave was in here too. Some Canadian representation.
Toronto Dave.
Love that.
I haven't seen Toronto Dave in a while.
Yeah, love. Hey, back for the season. It's great. We're back here. Like I said, we're gonna be here every Monday night. And thank you all for joining us on this Monday night.
Exactly. Go Eagles. Wait, do I care? No. Go Eagles, just so Cousins can get 300 plus yards.
Go Eagles by 6 or more.
Or
Give us that win.
Yeah. But keep the score low.
Sure. Yeah. Go. Yeah. Exactly. Give us everything we want, exactly the way we want.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thanks, NFL. Not too hard. But
Happy
hopefully this
Monday night.
episode. Yeah. Happy Monday night. Hopefully this episode was exactly what everyone wanted for this edition